Yo, yo, yo. We are back live. That's right. It's your boy Divine Sense back in the building. Salute to everyone dropping in early. I appreciate you. Beautiful, cloudy day out here in Bangkok, Thailand, man. 8:30 in the morning. Woke up, got my coffee, tuned in to a little bit of BF talking about this very topic in which I'm going to touch on tonight for you guys back stateside and let you guys know what I think. In particular, you guys see the title of the live stream, man. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bud, man. It's always perfect timing a lot of times, man, when I can go live is usually around this time, and around this time or before that BF is cooking. And so it's always good to see what people are saying, read the comment section, hear what people are cooking on and things like that. But, you know, Divine Sense is always going to give a different perspective. You guys know how I do it. That's why you guys tune in. And so we're going to talk about it, man. We're going to talk about it. I want to give a quick shout out to Pink Meadows. She was in here super early before I even went live. I appreciate you. Lit for Life Films and Music was in here earlier before I went live. I appreciate you. And Nitty G, old-time subscriber, member of the channel. Much love. And, of course, we got SM in the building. Make sure as you filter in, man, you make sure you hit that like button, get the likes all the way up. Let the people know we're in here and we're chopping it up, talking about boxing. Yeah, before I start to get the ball rolling a little bit, you know, just recently moved into a new place. For those of you who kind of pay attention or, you know, hit me up on the DMs and whatnot, you know that I've been doing a lot of fitness competitions, man. The past, feels like a long time, but the last 9 months or so, doing a lot of competitions, training really hard. It's just really hard for me to make time for this YouTube shit. It's always been a hobby for me anyway. But, you know, I always pay attention, you know, especially we got big fights like the one that we're about to see here on July 29th, man. You know, before I start to cook on the main topic, I want to say this. It's a long time coming, man. I mean, since like 2017, 18, something like that, boxing fans have been clashing over this fight, have been clashing about who's going to win and this, that, and whatever. And that's how it started. And then it became into a situation of who's ducking, who's avoiding, who doesn't want to fight and everything like that. But, one thing that I always said over here on my channel is good things take time, right? Patience is a virtue. And sometimes it's human nature, right? It's hard to be patient. And I even live by that code myself every single day in all aspects of my life. You know what I mean? Like trying to be patient, trying to let things unfold the way they're supposed to unfold. I think for me, always I knew deep down in my soul that this fight was going to happen. It's inevitable. It has to happen. The only reason why it wouldn't happen is that if somebody had a serious injury or something like that. But I always knew that it was going to happen. And here we are. All the talk, all of the debate, all of the criticism, the clashing, the back and forth. And in some regards, man, it's been getting nasty out there on these YouTube streets. Real nasty. Some of y'all be taking this shit way, way too serious, in my opinion. But hey, at the end of the day, whether you're going for Bud, you're going for Spence, the back and forth, it's been promoting the fight, and hopefully we get the press. Hopefully we do get a proper press tour. This fight deserves that. But soon we'll be getting press conferences and face-offs, and it's going to be amplified even more. We're in June now, ladies and gentlemen. We're in June. So I'm expecting things to kick off as far as the promotion of the fight very, very, very soon. And of course, I'm looking forward to that. So all in all, this is something to be excited for. It's something that, people have always mentioned things like, Hagler, Hearns and things like that. Like, yeah, especially in the welterweight division. We haven't really seen a fight of this magnitude, in my opinion, with the debates and the controversy and, trying to figure out who's the best since probably Mayweather Pacquiao. I think that's the last time in this division where it was heated. It was, like I said, controversial and things like that. And what makes this fight interesting is obviously the styles. But let me go ahead and talk a little bit about, like I said, the title of the video, more so about Bud. The reason for that, and by the way, I am going to do a complete video of my prediction. Like I normally always do in a big fight like this. I give you guys like a proper video, not a live, but an upload. So that way, it's on the channel. It's not that long. I probably try to keep it under 10 minutes. Let you guys know how I feel about the fight, predict the fight, drop my final predictions and whatnot. But in before that time, I just want to leave out some interesting ideas, things for people to think about, because once we get about 30 days out, I think that's when people really start to, because you get that first weigh-in. We're going to know where the fighters are at as far as weight is concerned. The press tour hopefully has already started to kick off. There's some face-offs. So around 30 days, about 3 weeks is when people really start to place their bets, or people really start to solidify their predictions on which way they're going, right? Right now, I mean, you have your diehards on both sides that are confident, but we got a lot of people that are not sure, right, about who's going to actually win this fight. That's usually a good sign of a good fight. So I like to play my role into helping people make these decisions and help people think about everything, right? Because you don't want to, in my opinion, in boxing, it's a very emotional sport. It's very easy to get caught up in emotions, go for a certain person because you like their story. You like where they're from. Maybe you have a connection with them some way, somehow. So we get caught up in the emotions. But a lot of times those things don't win fights. So we have to look at it at a lot of different angles as we make these predictions. So let's talk about Bud. Um, I think that if I were to say, who do I see like as far as the people saying who's going to win the fight, I would say it's probably about, from what I see, rather it's social media or people that I know personally. Majority of the people that I come into contact with or the channels that I watch, most people are leaning towards Spence. Yes, there is a lot of people that are going for Bud, but the people that I personally see going for Bud are not so much like some of the bigger channels. I think the bigger channels, the bigger boxing channels out here on YouTube, those who have a really good following, like 78, for example, they're leaning towards Spence. But there's an underlying amount of boxing fans that are going for Bud for sure, right? And so I guess this video might be for Spence fans. People that are going to go for Spence. I'm going to give you guys a couple things to think about. And I'll probably flip it in the next couple of days and then talk about Spence. And then we'll get some panels going. We'll get a Firestorm panel going. And then we'll have other people on here giving their opinions and thoughts about who they think is going to win the fight. We're going to heat it up. And so I'm going to start it off with Bud. I think that sometimes people forget possibly what Bud brings to the table. And one thing that you guys already do know about me is I'm extremely objective. I'm probably one of the most unbiased boxing channels on YouTube. I don't take things for face value. I don't really invest emotions in anything. Like, I don't I really want this guy to win, so I'm going to try to think about 500 ways on why I think this person is going to win. Anytime I make a prediction, I believe in it. I believe and I'm confident in what I see and what I feel in regards to who has the best skills, the best advantage, who has more willpower, who can dig deep in a fight, because sometimes at a fight at this magnitude, that's what it comes down to. Who wants it more? Who wants it more? What's up, Gnarly Ray? I see you, bro. Bruce Gas, Boxing and Jazz and more. What's good? And that needs to be recognized. When a fight at this magnitude, where both fighters are extremely skilled, man, and they both have different skill sets which are at the highest level. That's why they're in this position. A lot of times these fights come down to grit, determination, willpower, the ability to potentially take a big hit, get hurt, adjust, and come back, right? So basically, I have to ask myself, does Bud actually have that ability? Does Bud have the ability to be in a tough fight, championship rounds, get hurt, and still be able to finish it, to be able to fight through the storm, weather the storm, and pull it off? Because I don't know what people's predictions are. Rather, you think it's going to go the distance, or you think it's going to be a knockout, whatever the case may be. Regardless of how you have your final prediction, I think this fight is going to be way, way closer than what people are expecting it to be. One thing about Bud is I think he's a lot tougher than what people think he is. And I say that knowing that there's a lot of Spence fans. I subscribe to my channel in particular. But I'm gonna call it how I see it, man. And I was just literally on BF's channel for the past 30 minutes or so, listening him cook and having people on the panel, and they're going back and forth. It gets heated. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think that people are not considering Bud to be like a tough, gritty fighter. I think a lot of people are looking at Bud as just, he's highly skilled. He's got some pop in his punches. He has different attributes. But if the fight gets tough, people just seem to think that Spence is just tougher. Now, that might be the case, but to think that Bud isn't tough and that Bud is not taking this fight serious, I think that you're making a big mistake. If you're going to be betting on this fight or investing emotions and time in this fight. So sometimes we got to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, and we have to really look at it, right? And so one thing that I do is, because I'm human just like everyone else, sometimes I get emotional. I've started investing emotions into fights like this, is I want to be so confident in my predictions and whatnot. But I always have to take a step back. I have to go back and look at past fights. I have to look at past situations when both of these fighters in their career have been in situations where they've had to dig deep, where they've both been hit with something, where they've been hurt. Spence has been hurt before. Bud has been hurt before. And they've both been hurt by less caliber fighters than what they're about to face off against, and that is each other. So they've both been hurt. They have both come back from being hurt to win fights. And for me personally, one fight that I look at the most is Bud fighting Porter and Spence fighting Porter. And before anybody gets, bent out of shape and be like, oh man, but Porter wasn't the same when he fought Spence, he wasn't the same when he fought Bud, and it's a different situation, blah, 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 blah. Not like, for real though. It's a common opponent that they both faced, and the outcome was completely different. Yeah, styles make fights, but that's exactly my point. Sean Porter is as tough as they come in the welterweight division. Like him, love him, hate him, whatever you may think about Sean Porter. I mean, they don't become much tougher than Sean Porter. And what we have to realize is that a Sean Porter against a Earl Spence is always going to be a tough matchup. Rather they fought once or 5 times, it was always going to be a tough fight because of Sean Porter's style and Earl Spence's style. But you look at Bud when he faced Porter more or less had the same type of energy, more or less the same type of game plan. I mean, he is who he is. I don't give a shit how many times his dad tells him to fight a certain way. Sean Porter is who he is. He's going to revert back to being who he is. So he more or less fought Bud the same way he fought Porter. The same way he fought Spence. So the difference is that Spence was a bit more willing to stand in the pocket and kind of like fight Porter. He actually stood there and fought Porter, which made it a rugged, tough fight. But of course, Spence was just a little bit sharper, a little bit faster, a little bit more precise, probably, I don't want to say more athletic ability, because Porter's pretty fucking athletic, man. Like, people get it twisted about Porter. See, I get a little bit upset, man, when people try to discredit Porter. I get a little bit upset because this guy is highly athletic. The guy's fast. The guy makes it very difficult for you to really like get your feet set and do what you want to do. But like I said, Spence, he was willing to stand toe-to-toe with Porter and actually fight. Whereas Bud was way more cautious. You can see that he didn't want to get caught trying to stand toe-to-toe with Porter. He took his time. He kept his distance. He was actually on the back foot quite a lot in the beginning part of the fight. And he slowly started to make adjustments and finding the right timing, got that spacing, started using the jab more effectively until he finally, landed something that turned the whole fight around. Because me as a boxing fan, I was on the edge of my seat during that whole fight. Like, damn, Porter's really taking it to Bud. Bud looks a little bit discombobulated. Not really, he wasn't under distress in the fact where he was completely losing the fight or nothing like that. But he wasn't that comfortable. But that's the thing about Bud that makes me wonder, as much as I want to be quick to pull the trigger and say, nah, Spence got this. The thing about Bud is, man, the awkwardness, and I think that because he can switch it up and he's got that awkward, super fast hand speed that is accurate as fuck. If you look at the fights that Bud's been in, when he's been in a little bit of a situation where he's getting caught with punches or his opponent is trying to impose their will and he's in a tough situation, all of a sudden he just puts a combo together. It's he sets his feet and he's just bop, 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 bop. And it's accurate, it's quick. And it's his opponents just don't see it coming. They get hurt. And it's completely different than Spence, because Spence is more methodical. He'll break you down. He's kind of he's like a special type of tank. He's not like the type of tank that just runs through you, but he's like a tank that has a lot of different weapons on it. But he's sturdy, he's tough, he's strong. He comes forward, he steps to you, But it's what you're going to get with Spence, more or less. And that's why when you have Porter and Spence, and back, what was that, 2018, when they met up on video and they started jawing back and forth and they're getting, kind of hyping up to where we're at now. That's what Bud was telling Spence, don't think you can just go to the body. Don't just think that you can just walk up to me and impose your will. It's because to me, when Bud says that, it's it makes me feel like Bud knows more or less on what to expect. Now, sure, it's always easier looking from the outside when you have to deal with somebody like Spence. I think that for Spence, it's you can't just look at Spence as a normal welterweight, because he's not. He's not. I think people underestimate his power. People underestimate that when they ridicule sometimes the body attack, they think it's not a big deal until you're in there, and then it is a big deal. It's one of the biggest leading factors on why he was finally able to break down Ugas, I think, is that accumulative effect of the body attack. But I'll try to keep this video more so about Bud and not get too carried away talking about Spence. But my point is that about Spence, you kind of know at this level, if you're Bud Crawford, who's moved up in weight classes, who is been known as one of the best pound for pound fighters for quite some time now, you more or less know what you're going to get. But with Bud, not as easy to know what you're going to get out of Bud. Is Bud going to box? Is Bud going to come out aggressive like Tommy Hearns did against Marvin Hagler and just attack Spence to try to get Spence out early? Is he going to fight like he did against Porter and take his time and let the fight get into the later rounds? Right? We don't know. But with Spence, I'm pretty confident. I know how he's gonna come in there. He's gonna get his feet planted. He's gonna start using the jab. He's gonna go to the body. He's gonna keep his spacing. He's gonna try to time, catch and shoot. He's gonna try to land big shots. I'm gonna break Bud down. Either I'm gonna make him quit, or I'm gonna knock him out. That's how I feel. But Bud, I can't really say one way or the other. I can guess. I can guess on what Bud might come out and do, but I really don't know. Spence, I'm pretty confident on what he's going to do. It's just a matter of will Bud be able to? Sorry, will Spence be able to take? Sorry, will Bud be able to take what Spence brings? Is more of the question. Not so much of a question of what is Spence going to bring to the table, because I pretty much know. So I think it's yeah, wrenches, man. Yeah, y'all need to step up to the plate, bro. Got a lot of weirdos. Got a lot of weirdos in here. We seriously need to get some work in here, wrenches, man. Damn. Shit distracting as fuck, all these goddamn weirdos in here. All right, let me try to get back on track. So I'm just trying to, give you guys some perspective. We're going to dive deeper into this at some point. I'll put a big panel together. But these are the kind of things that I've been thinking about the past week or so. My bad, Hoplo, man. I missed your comment, man, because a bunch of bullshit comments up in here and just kind of distracts me. Let's see. Let me see. All right. I know it's not exactly the same at all, but I know you wouldn't have picked Margarito to beat Floyd. Food for conversation. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I would never pick Margarito to beat Floyd. But Spence is not Margarito, though. Spence is a way better fighter than Margarito. And I don't know if it's fair to call, Bud and Mayweather, that's actually a closer comparison than it is to compare Spence and Margarito. But I hear you. I see your point. I see your point. So the thing is yeah, Bud is definitely the more, I guess, well-rounded skill fighter of the two. But here's what it is, though. Spence is well-rounded, though. Like, he's not the best at one particular skill set, but he's extremely well-rounded. That's why I don't ride with the comparison comparing him to Margarito, because Margarito, he's just a rugged come-forward fighter. He doesn't have any special effects. He doesn't do anything that well, to be honest. He just keeps coming, and he just tries to beat you up, and he takes a lot of shots. And I think that Spence is sometimes maybe underrated when it comes to his defensive ability. I think Spence's defensive ability is high quality. High quality. Because if Spence was more like Margarito, let's say, or a Maidana, let's say, like, I wouldn't even have to debate it at all. Like, this is a Bud Crawford victory all day long. But Spence is not. Spence is undefeated. Spence is in the position that he's in currently, in my opinion, still the best welterweight in the world. In my opinion, Spence is the best welterweight in the world. Bud is arguably one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. But at the end of the day, Bud is about to go face off against the best welterweight in the world, in my opinion. So that's something to think about. I gotta figure out, man. I gotta block these motherfuckers, man. Where did these dudes come from, bro? Where do these dudes come from, for real? All right. Trying to out here trying to have a good conversation, and these weirdos just pop up out of where? I mean, what the fuck, man? What's up, Mangus? I see you. Yeah. So the main thing that I wanted to point out is if you're going for Spence, my advice, and there's obviously nothing wrong with that. I've pretty much stated since the beginning of the hype between these two men that I've always leaned toward Spence myself. But I've never really like dived super deep into the fight because I'm not that type of person. I don't really get into fantasy shit. Like for years on YouTube, people are like, "Oh man, who do you think will win, Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson?" It's like, I just can't really. I don't know. Like I can give you a loose kind of breakdown prediction off the top of my head, but I don't really break down fights, especially if it's a realistic situation, until I know the fight is signed, sealed, delivered. We know what's going to happen. So I never really looked at Bud and Spence that deeply, other than face value. Like I said, freestyling off the top of my head, I've always leaned more towards Spence for several different variables, which I'll touch on when I make my official prediction video. But now that the fight is signed, sealed, and delivered, and we do know that it's going to happen, now I'm starting to take that process of really starting to break it down, really start to like look at all the intricate details. And I just wanted to come out here and remind a little bit, if you're going towards Spence, before we're quick to pull on the trigger, especially if you're someone who's going to bet, right, on this fight. It's a tough fight to bet, though. I mean, that's the first thing. But I think from me, what I've noticed is that even for myself, I've had to take a step back. But I don't know, man. Like, Bud is skilled as fuck, though. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I go back and I've been watching the past couple of days some of his past fights. Bud is like sneaky gifted, bro. Sneaky gifted. It's something about him that I can't put a finger on. And it's not like Mayweather, because Mayweather, it's like he was so systematically sound. He's one of the best defensive fighters of all time. So you know that when Mayweather stepped into the ring, the only way you beat Mayweather is you got to figure out a way to punch a hole through his defense and hurt him and stop him. Because once Mayweather gets comfortable and he figures out the timing and the range, and once he feels your best punch and he knows that he can take it and he knows how to defend against your best punch, he takes away your best weapons, it's a wrap. Right? And the only person that I can think of that got closest to actually punching a hole in that defense early in a fight, which is quite honestly what you have to do, because once a fight gets into the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round, even Maidana in the first and second fight, well, the second fight was very clear. He just wasn't good enough. The first fight was a bit of a closer fight. But as the fight wore on, Maidana was starting. He lost the fight as the fight went on. He looked good early to middle. But that's the thing. The only person that really had that moment of early in the fight, oh shit, this is what it takes to get a victory over Mayweather, was Shane Mosley. When Shane Mosley landed that big overhand right and buckled Floyd. So with Floyd, you always knew what you get. It's like you got to go in there, punch a hole in his defense, and knock him out early. Because once he gets settled in, it's a wrap. Right? So with Bud, though, it's like, I don't know, man. He's like a character out of a Harry Potter movie. It's just that like odd, like there's nothing about him that makes me feel like he's indestructible. Like he can't be beat, because he can definitely be beat. Like I can think of 20 different ways that Spence can knock Bud out. But at the same time, I'm like, he got this crazy talent, this like awkward talent that even though, he can seem like he's losing the fight, he just like finds this second wind, or the opening that he's been waiting for finally happens, and he just like lights you up with a couple, 2 or 3 nice punches, hits you with some shit you don't see, hurts you. And the thing about Bud, too, is that Bud is a killer, bro. Don't get it twisted. Like, tell me any fight where he's hurt his opponent and he doesn't jump on his opponent to knock him out. He doesn't let his opponent off the hook if he has him hurt. Once he hurt Porter, the first knockdown, you can see it on Bud's face that I got this now. There's no way I'm losing this fight now. And the opposite happened for Porter. When Porter got dropped, it was like a flash knockdown. You can see it on his face that it's like, oh, now Bud has figured me out. Now I've been figured out now. You can see his confidence drop massively. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how do I God damn, these comments are distracting the fuck out of me. So much negativity, man. So much negativity. So if I'm Spence, I've got to be super careful, man. I got to be super careful. Now, that's why I have confidence in Spence, because he's not reckless. That's what I appreciate about Spence. That's why I got confidence in him, because I know he's not going to come in there reckless. I know he's not going to be, just fixated on trying to get the knockout. If anything, it'll be Bud in that regard. I feel like Spence overall, just his demeanor and his personality in general, from just how he is, he's very reserved, very chilled, very laid back. You can see like that focus. He's the type of guy that is patient. And you're going to need that against a guy like Bud. Bud, on the other hand, again, like I said, he's like a character from Harry Potter, man, because he has that type of energy where he can just like I said, he can just come out from the first fucking round and just try to jump on Spence. People, that's a huge possibility, man. Huge. Will Spence be ready for that? And when people were talking about, I remember my dad telling me back in the day about when Hearns and Hagler fought, that nobody really knew like how the fight was going to go. Such a close fight. They're both crazy good fighters and whatnot. But these trolls are crazy. Bro, what the fuck? This shit is crazy. Y'all motherfuckers are sick in the head, bro. What the fuck is wrong with society today, man? See, this is the type of shit, and people ask me, yo, why don't you go live anymore? This is why. Like, I don't even want to deal with this, like, I don't even want to deal with this shit, man. This shit is crazy. It's like one after another. One after, it's gotta be somebody with one account with like all these different accounts and shit. I literally have blocked and deleted like 12 people already. It's crazy because I don't know if it's because like the thumbnail that I put in the video, right? The thumbnail for the stream has Bud's face on it, and it just triggers people, bro. It's like Bud's face triggers people. I've never, since all this time, I don't think I've ever had this amount of trolls in my stream ever. For the past 2 years that I've made this new channel, I've never had this amount. This shit wild. This shit is straight wild. And I'm trying. It's hard, like, because people have actually like real comments and whatnot. I can't focus on it. So I'm not sure if it's people getting triggered because I put Bud's picture on the fucking thumbnail, if it's Spence fans, whatever the case is. Brown Unboxing was good, but we need to get more wrenches in here to handle the fucking business, bro. Because I can't continue this stream with this bullshit. I can't. All right. I'm gonna try to refocus, man. I've literally just blocked and deleted like 20 people. Easily. But the wrenches that are putting in that work, bro, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. This shit is crazy. I don't think I've ever had this amount of trolls in my shit. Ever. But I guess that just goes to show you the amount of like, it's weird, right? Spence Crawford. It reminds me a lot of Pacquiao Mayweather back in the day. It was like hype, but it was also animosity and anger and racism and hatred. But then there's people that were just crazy excited about the fight. We waited a long time to see it. And we, for some people, for some channels, for some boxing fans, we were able to have great discussions and great debates and leading up to the fight. But there was so much hatred involved in Mayweather Pacquiao as well that it made it extremely difficult to like keep pushing forward with content. I remember that shit clearly because I was in the trenches back in those days. And this is starting to remind me of that. Because it was quiet for a little bit because I think people, trolls or boxing fans, it didn't really matter. But it kind of got quiet because the fight wasn't being made and people just kind of got exhausted about talking, like basically beating a dead horse. But now the fight has been made. All the hatred, animosity, the trolls, the racists, all these motherfuckers are coming out of the woodwork. And you're seeing it right here on my channel. You're seeing it on my channel right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I don't know what it is exactly. Because Mayweather Pacquiao, it made a little bit of sense because it's like you had the Filipino fans were fanatics about Pacquiao. Like Pacquiao couldn't do anything wrong. This guy was like God to them. He was the best thing since sliced bread. Like he's the greatest thing ever type of shit. So you kind of expected that. And they came in the comment sections calling everybody monkeys and shit and like crazy racist shit. But you kind of in a way expect that because they're just so like fanatical about Pacquiao being he's from their country or whatever the case may be. But it's weird because you have two African-American fighters facing off in one of the biggest fights that we've seen probably since Pacquiao and Mayweather. But there's just so much hate and animosity between the two. And I don't know where all the hate and I don't know how this shit is happening like this. Fucking blows me away. Yeah, Jeff, I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to do that, bro. I'm gonna have to do that because normally I have it set up where you have. See, the thing is, and by the way, every troll that has been commenting tonight, they've had to subscribe before they comment. See, that's how crazy these motherfuckers are. I think I have it set up now where you have to be subscribed to the channel for at least like 20 minutes or something like that, which I'm gonna have to change that shit. So they literally have to subscribe and wait 20 minutes before they can come in and comment. That just shows and proves to you how crazy these people are, man. It's sickening. And it's sickening as fuck. Like, it makes you wonder when you go out and live your everyday life. You go to work, you go shopping, you go out with your family, whatever it is, you handle your business on a daily basis, and we're surrounded by these crazy motherfuckers all the time, bro. We're surrounded by them. They're everywhere. You just don't know. You don't see it. But they come out here on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all these social media platforms, man. It's wild. Always have your head on a swivel, man. I'm telling you. The way I operate shit, bro, like YouTube is one thing. Like, I can't control everything, but it doesn't really affect my life. I finish this live stream, I go on with the rest of my day, and I don't give a fuck. But in real life, bro, my head is on a swivel constantly. I don't trust anybody. You got to prove your trust. You got to prove your worth to me if you're going to be in my circle, because you got this crazy shit. Yeah. Oh, is it, Sid? All right. Yeah, I definitely need to change that. Definitely need to change that. Let me do that right fucking now, actually. Let me do that right now, actually. All right, cool. All right, let's try to get back on topic, man. Look, my apologies. It's not my intentions to be sidetracked, but these motherfuckers are trying to sidetrack. I shouldn't allow them to sidetrack me. So yeah, we all know that this is an interesting fight, man. We all know this. We all know it's I see a lot of people in the comments saying, oh, I think it's like 50-50, 60-40, something like that, which is all very understandable. I think that if you are saying 50-50, 60-40, 55-45, something like that makes sense. That means you got a good boxing head, you got a good boxing mind, smart enough to know that it's a close fight. Quite honestly, like if you're a person who comes out and says, yeah, Bud's going to knock him out for sure, or Spence going to knock him out for sure. Are you really looking at the fight though? Like for real? Like, are you really looking and taking the time and looking at all the details? Because I've had to do that. I've had to do that myself. I'm like, I'm always, just in general in life, I'm always taking a step back and with anything. Like, I'm still single out here. I'm still dating chicks and shit like that. If I date a chick, I'm always kind of like, I always take a step back before I make another move. I'm like, is this the right move, bro? Like, I don't know. Let me take a second look, because emotions drive us sometimes in a direction that maybe we shouldn't go. So even for me, I had to take a look back at Bud the past couple of days before I decided to make this live. This is actually why I made this live, because I went back and watched a couple of other Bud's fights. I've listened to some things that he said, and you take away all the shit, all the ducking, the dodging, like who's responsible for pushing the fight out this long? Who at this point, who gives a fuck, in my opinion? And I know some people like BF, he feels kind of slighted because he put so much investment into Bud and trying to promote Bud, and he feels like Bud kind of like did him wrong by leading him on as an ardent boxing fan. I get that, but for me, it's like, the fight's here now, so fuck it. Like, let's be critical and actually talk about this fight. So I had to take a look back and look at Bud and be like, all right, man, am I tripping? Like, maybe Bud is like a silent, he's like a silent killer. We're just not really recognizing it though, full throttle. And what I've noticed, looking back in some of his fights, like I mentioned earlier, the Porter fight, for example. I mean, I watched Porter fight with a group of friends. There's like 5 or 6 of us. And I remember this was after the fight because I live streamed that fight. I remember I live streamed Crawford and Porter. But afterwards, because not everybody was able to watch it live, I got it together with a group of friends and we watched it. They didn't know, well, they knew who won, but they didn't watch the fight. But as we were watching, they all were like, damn. They thought Porter was looking good. They thought Bud was looking exposed at times. And a lot of them were saying like, oh, I guess, Porter just got caught. He just got caught. It was like a lucky punch. Now, granted, my friends, they're like casual boxing fans for the most part. They're not into boxing like I am or have been for the past 15 years. But at the same time, I can see why they see that. I can see why a casual boxing fan may see and feel that. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking like, nah. I think that was always part of Bud's game plan. It's like he knew Porter was going to come out fast, strong, aggressive, try to make it awkward, try to make him uncomfortable, try to, just try to beat him up any way he possibly can, and maybe get a decision just based off of work rate by just throwing more punches, by being more active, and get Bud to just pot shot here and there, and maybe it won't be enough. But from my observation, especially going back and looking at it, not just watching it live, is that I can tell that that was Bud's plan. Very calm, very cool and collected. Even though he was under some pressure in quite a few rounds, he didn't look that flustered, to be honest, to me. He looked like he was under control, and it was just like waiting for the right moment, and that moment finally came. And when it came, the confidence level was boosted immensely, and he finished it. Well, you can argue that Kenny Porter finished it, but that's another conversation. Nonetheless, you can't blame Bud for that. Bud was in there doing his job. He knocked the man down twice. You want to get upset at Kenny Porter? That's fine. But Bud's doing what he needs to do at the end of the day, right? So that to me showed a lot. And then I look at some other fights. He's been in some firefights where he's been hurt. He's been caught. Green beans hurt him. But he always finds a way to use that kind of unexplainable, in a way, talent that he has. It's like, it's not as easy as just, well, he's a switch hitter and he's fast and he's got some power. There's something else about him. And I don't know if it's because of his like wrestling background, or it's like this sneaky athleticism that you can't really define in one word, that just creeps up on you, that has got him to this point in his career. It's not just the boxing skill. It's not just the boxing IQ. It's not his pedigree, but it's also that wild card of skill that he has that just pops out of nowhere, that fighters so far in his career haven't been able to deal with. So will Spence be that guy to be able to deal with that quote unquote wild card ability that Bud possesses? And we're going to see. We're going to see. What's up, Dang Father? Good to see you, bro. Now, so again, this live stream was more so about Bud. Just kind of, I'm just throwing a few little things out there, a little segue, a little bit of a teaser, a little bit of appetizer to what's to come in the future. I'm going to put some panels together. Let the channels come on here and chop it up and let the people know who they think is going to win this fight and why. But there's a little appetizer to set things off. But it's more so because I've been watching a couple of Bud fights recently. I've been listening to the things that he's been saying, and it just makes me think. See, I like to think. I'm the type of person that likes to be stimulated and always kind of analyze things and be supremely confident in my decision-making skills. That's why I always second guess myself. And like I said, man, for those who just joined. With Spence, we more or less know what we're going to get with Spence. Spence is very consistent. He's very consistent. When you watch tape on Spence, no matter who he's fought, whether it's Porter or whoever it don't matter. He's pretty consistent in his style, his approach, whether it's Ugas, Porter, whoever the fuck it is, like especially like true welterweights. He's approached every fight pretty much the same. Yeah, he's made adjustments, here and there. Oh, I mean, every champion at this level has to make adjustments, but more or less very consistent. His style, his approach, the way he deals with adversity, very consistent. So if you're Team Bud and you're studying tape on Spence, you're going to notice that. It's not about him being exposed or anything like that. It's just that he's very consistent, right? Bud, on the other hand, you can watch 5 fights and it's like he does every fight is different. Like, he's aggressive, he's not aggressive. He lands a body shot, he lands a head shot. He throws a combination, he lands only one punch. He gets really defensive, he's trying to catch and shoot, he's trying to counter, he does so many different things, and it makes it difficult to plan for Bud. And Spence is not, I mean, he's basically a veteran at this point. He's been in the game long enough. He's been a champion for a long time. Won belts, defended belts. He's no fool. He knows this. And there's a whole reason why this fight took time to make. There's a reason for that. This isn't just a little sign and tag and let's sign, seal, deliver type fight. There's a reason why this shit took time. Because this is the biggest fight in the welterweight division since Mayweather-Pacquiao. Facts. There's been some other good fights in between that time. And they fought, 2015? 8 years. It's been 8 years, almost a decade, since we've seen a fight of the magnitude of a Mayweather-Pacquiao, and we're finally getting it. So I can't wait to jump back on here live and get some dudes on the panel or ladies. A lot more women boxing channels out here talking boxing. That's cool. Whoever wants to jump on. Looking forward to it. To get the hype. We're going to do our part as diehard boxing fans. And hopefully we get a press tour soon. Hopefully we get press conferencing soon. We get some face-offs to help lead into it, because this fight deserves that. Definitely deserves that. And we're going to do our part as boxing fans, man, to get up on here on YouTube and continue to spice the fight up. I'm curious to hear everybody's perspective. Everybody's. When a fight like this is so close, everybody knows it's close. Deep down, everybody knows it's close. But anyways, guys, food for thought in regards to Bud Crawford, especially for the Spence fans out there. And that's coming from a guy who has been a huge advocate and a huge supporter of Errol Spence as a welt. I think there's no question in my mind right now at this very moment. Fuck what you heard. Spence is the best welterweight, period. He's the best. And I stand by that firmly. But you got Bud moving up these weight classes, considered pound for pound. And he's pound for pound. He's been considered pound for pound for a reason. That makes this fight very intriguing. So it's my job, it's my duty to offer a different viewpoint, give some food for thought, and just remind people, just a little humble reminder, not trying to change your mind, especially coming from a Spence fan, one of the best welterweights that I've seen in my generation. I've enjoyed watching all of his fights, is that Bud is no slouch. This man is talented, and he's got that awkward like off the wall talent that it's a generational talent. Like that's who Bud Crawford is. I rather you like him or not. And I can sit up here all day and say, and I can nitpick the things that he said and the shit leading up to the fight that, I've come on live and I told you guys shit that Bud has said and done that I wasn't feeling. Oh, I don't feel that shit. It's like, bro, that's like some, I don't know, man. Like, I think that this fight could have been made sooner. But at the end of the day, and let me say this. A couple of Bud's fights were just like, come on, bro. Like, what? There was no point in that, especially his last fight. No point. Wasn't excited about that fight whatsoever. But it doesn't change the fact that he's an extremely talented fighter. And I do believe that he will show how talented he is when he face off against Spence. Doesn't mean I think he'll win. But I think regardless, he's going to show people, all right, or going to remind people, especially the doubters, of why he was even in that position anyways, to take on the best welterweight in boxing today. I think Bud's going to prove that. And I'm looking forward to chopping it up with other people on the panel to get their opinions and thoughts. But I just wanted to throw that little bit to think about in regards to Bud. If there's been any moment where it's like, man, he just doesn't stand a chance against Spence. He, whatever it may be, Spence is too big, he's too talented, he's too tough, whatever your framework is and your minds, I'm here to remind you that all those things may be true, but Bud, number one, is extremely talented. And I'm telling you by observation and film study, very, very, very talented, very sneaky talented, and sneaky talent is dangerous. Number two, he's not bigger than Spence naturally, but he's not as small as what people think he is. He can fight in the welterweight division. 100%. Number three, I think people may be getting too clouded, like their mind gets too clouded on the outside the ring antics. That clouds their judgment in regards to his boxing skill and ability. I've been noticing that on YouTube a lot lately. They're a bit too fixated, and that's normal, that's natural, because there's been a lot of bullshit leading up to this fight, especially the past 6 months. It's easy to get distracted when you focus on Bud and his antics outside the ring, and we kind of forget of the talent that he has and the quality of opponents, right? Especially most recently, his most recent fight. That just makes it's hard. Like if his last fight was, somebody who was a champion and he won a belt and some, much higher quality fighter, I think the conversation would be much different about Bud. But he didn't do that. He took an easier route, which gives more doubt in people's minds about his skill. But I'm not too distracted by that. So those are three big factors that I just wanted to remind people of. Because you guys know Divine Sense is always going to do that. I don't get caught up in bandwagons and this side and that side, I'm going to paint it how I see it. And then when my official prediction comes out, that'll be it. That's Divine Sense's prediction right there. But I'm going to build up. I'm going to build up and do my part. I'm going to build up this fight. I'm going to help promote this fight. That's what we should all do as boxing fans. And if your way to promote the fight is be like, man, Spence is going to knock this man out, then fuck it. Like that. I mean, at the end of the day, that is promoting the fight because people want to see if you're wrong or right. You know what I mean? So promote it in your own way. No problem with that. But my opinion is don't be too quick to go all in with all your chips. When we make these bold predictions, we're playing Texas Hold'em. You got 3 cards on the table. You got 2 more cards to be revealed. You're feeling confident. You know what I mean? But do you really make that all-in bet, knowing that there's somebody else across the table that is very sneaky and also very talented when it comes to playing poker. So that's where I'm at right now. I got three. I got my hand. I got 3 cards on the table, and I'm like, man, I get one more card, and I know I got this bet. Nobody can best my hands. But I haven't put the chips on the table yet because I see another person across the table with their sunglasses on, trying to use a poker face. I'm like, I don't know. This guy tricky, bro. This guy tricky right here. I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to read his body language. So that's how I'm approaching before I drop my prediction video, because I take this type of shit serious. But it's just me kind of when I make a live like this, it's just me speaking out. It's me thinking out loud to the family to let you guys know what's on my mind. And that's what's been on my mind the past couple of days about Bud. And so the next plan is to come on here, hopefully make a panel soon, and start chopping it up. Yeah, Nitty, I feel you, man. All right, guys. So unfortunately, we were distracted earlier in this stream with a bunch of trolls, a bunch of bullshit. So I apologize for that. I'm gonna try to tighten up the ship a little bit better. It seems like since we started blocking and deleting people, and I increased the subscription time to be able to comment, it's helped out a little bit. But yeah, we were straight up attacked. A frontal attack by trolls, man, for about a good 20 minutes. So those who bear through it with me, I appreciate you, man. It really kind of shows your dedication to the channel, and your patience and the fact that you guys value my opinion. So I appreciate you guys, man. I didn't want to make this a live long stream. It's just a matter of I had some shit on my mind and I had a little bit of time. Normally I don't. So when I have time, man, I try to jump on here when I can. So again, man, I appreciate everybody who dropped in tonight. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the process, man. We're about to witness one of the biggest welterweight fights of the decade. Super excited about it. Tell your friends, tell your family. You guys already know I'm gonna go live. I'm gonna live commentate that shit. And oddly enough, that's when I get my most viewership, is when I go live. Commentating these big fights, man. I guess people really enjoy that, so I appreciate that. So yeah, I'm gonna be live and we're gonna continue to promote it. And for those of you who are coming on here later, weren't able to catch the live, I appreciate you. Just help me out and hit that like button before you guys leave. And I'll be back on here again soon. I'm gonna be working behind the scenes, hitting up some other channels to hopefully put together a nice panel for your guys' entertainment to talk about this fight, man. So y'all stay strong, stay positive out there. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Keep your head on a swivel, like I always say. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay up. Peace.